Hey everybody, welcome to the MMA Heat podcast. I'm Karyn Bryant.
What's up, everyone? Jouban here.
So we were both on the road on Monday, so we'll still give our parting thoughts, I guess, on what went down in Sacramento. Look ahead a little bit to San Antonio. But Alan, it looked like you had a nice little family getaway, huh?
Yeah, a good little, I was taking a page out of you guys' book. You guys always do these little mini getaways or like staycations, and we don't do them enough. So, a friend of ours offered us the opportunity to go to Joshua Tree, and he had a nice little like 2-bedroom, 2-bath house with a pool, and it was fun. It was relaxing. I feel rested. I'm glad I went. But honestly, driving out there, I did not understand it. I didn't grow up in the desert, obviously. Mm-hmm. And when you get out in the desert and there's nothing out there and it's so dry and it's like 105 degrees, by the way, out there.
Yeah.
I was like, what do people do out here? Like, why do they come? They come just to sit by the pool. You're like, it's hard to grasp the concept of it. But then once you get there, I get it. Like, you just go to relaxation, to vacation mode. You sit in the house, you drink, you play games, you watch movies, and you just get in that zone. But driving out there, I was like, is this the right decision? did we mean to come out in the middle of nowhere? But yeah, we just got back a couple hours ago and had a really good time, actually.
Very cool. Yeah, I love going out to Indian Wells because to me, it's hard when it's really, really, really hot. But like as we've established here, I don't go in cold water, and you know what I mean. Yeah. So when I go out to the desert, I'm like, okay, it's hot enough for me to go in the water now.
The water's warm, yeah.
But I don't know. To me, like I haven't gone to Joshua Tree, but like the desert atmosphere, that heat, like I don't know, it feels good to me. It feels like
you like it,
restorative. I don't know, I like it.
But you enjoy the luxuries of like the hotel amenities rather than like the Airbnb. Like it's like when you go to these houses out in the desert, it's kind of like random. Like there's a house on top of a hill with nothing but cactuses around. But you go and you just chill. But like when you're driving up to the house, you're like, it's like the hills have on. Like what am I doing out here? Like who lives out here? Area 51 type shit.
That's funny. Yeah, no, I understand. It looks like you guys had a good time, so that is cool. I was in Sacramento for the fights, and then we stayed a little extra. We have some friends that live up there. Actually, a friend of ours who Wade met doing training with here in LA. They live up there now, and actually he trains at Urijah's gym and so it was kind of fun for him to, kind of watch the fights, watch Urijah come back, and like Touchy Fili had a great performance and stuff, so I know he was psyched because a lot of his homies, did well. But we may as well just start with that Urijah Faber win because
let's go.
I'm not gonna lie. I know he's still so talented, but anytime somebody comes out of retirement, you're always like, is it the right idea? I don't know.
Yeah.
And Ricky Simone is on the rise and all this stuff, and I have to admit to being surprised at how quickly Urijah won that fight.
Agreed. I mean, unless you're just nothing wrong with this, but unless you're just like a huge Urijah fan and you're like have faith in him. But when you come and when you become very realistic about it, yes, he's been away from the sport for a while. He is now 40 years old, which puts him kind of in an elite category because there's only a certain number of fighters inside the UFC that are 40 and above.
Yeah.
And like you said, not only did he come back and be able to hang with the young guys, but he looks spectacular. I mean, one of his best finishes yet, one of his highlight reel knockouts, maybe one of the top ones to do it in that short amount of time against such a highly touted prospect in Ricky. So he looked great. The thing about the fight, Karyn, that like most people are probably forgetting is Urijah got hit pretty good in that fight. You remember? He got rocked, and when it happened, I go, oh no! Like, is this what's happening? Urijah's gonna get rocked, and all of a sudden we see that his chin may be diminishing with age, but he showed that he handled it well. His chin is still there. The experience factor kept him in the fight, and that beautiful overhand landed right on the button. And he also knew. I was a little bit thinking, it was a bit of an early stoppage in my mind.
Okay.
It was not like a bad stoppage, but Ricky could have kept going. Ricky was not out. But Urijah had the wherewithal he knew with experience, the vet that he is, to continue putting the pressure, put the referee in a position to have to make a decision.
Right.
He did that. The referee had to make a decision because Urijah was laying it on him. And so Ricky did not really protest the decision that much. And we kind of seemed to forgot about it and just talk about how great Urijah looked in the fight.
Yeah, and one thing that's, you can kind of point to with Urijah, he's always talked about his clean living and all of that.
Yes.
And, he does kind of, he looks like the same guy he's always looked like, you know what I mean? And so you got to believe him in all of that. He came up to the desk after to talk to me and Tyron, and I brought something up, that some people on the forums were like, oh, the only reason Urijah came back is because TJ's gone, and that makes up opens up some opportunities for Urijah, you know what I mean, without TJ in the picture. So I asked Urijah how he felt. He's like, oh, I don't think he's like, there would have been just as many opportunities if TJ was here. And he's like, think about me versus TJ, because he basically then kind of went off on, they finally caught him, and thank you, USADA, and yada, 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 which I was really not trying to get into. I wasn't trying to, whatever, it is what it is. But he was saying, could you imagine a fight me versus TJ? And I was like, holy crap. Like, that would be crazy. I know Urijah's asking for a title shot and stuff. I personally don't think that's the right next move, but could you imagine? I mean, granted, obviously it's going to be a while before TJ can come back, but the fact that he said he would fight TJ, I thought was kind of crazy.
Yeah, and what's funny about it too is like what you're saying right now. What we're talking about Urijah fighting former champion TJ, which, first of all, TJ has a pretty lengthy sentence right now that he has to wait out. But we're also even talking about it, maybe not realistically talking about, but talking about the other conversation of a title shot with Cejudo. I mean, they were already starting the bad blood, the beef. Yeah. And I love, this isn't a comeback story by any means, but it's a come out of retirement story with a legend in the sport at 40 years old, and he comes out and takes out a top prospect in a fashion that we haven't seen Ricky ever been beat up like that before. And it puts him in that conversation, which is fun. Now we're talking about who is Urijah going to fight next. It gives him almost more leverage than he would have if he would have been active all this time. So it's a fun thing. And you know what, Karyn? I mean, we've seen crazier things happen. Look at Michael Bisping. When Bisping became the champion, all of a sudden he was fighting Anderson Silva, Dan Henderson. Yeah. He was getting these favorable matchups. And so with Cejudo, the champion, Cejudo did call out a couple of guys. Wasn't Urijah one of the guys that he called out?
Yes, that's why Urijah brought it up.
So that's why he brought it up. And it's kind of like, you know what? When you're the champion and you want to pick your number, you want to call your fight, and Dana White being so friendly with Urijah, I wouldn't be surprised if something like this happened. I don't think it's the right fight to happen. But it's fun seeing Urijah have this second opportunity at gold again.
Yeah, so you don't think it's the right move though, huh? In terms of
I think Cejudo's too good, too fast, too strong for Urijah right now. Okay. Urijah was able to get past this opponent in Ricky with he looked great for his age, and he looked let me take that away. He looked great. Not for his age. He looked great. Right. And he showed that he's still learning things. He said he added that overhand to his arsenal. So that's superb. But when Urijah fought, who's fighting pretty soon? The little Frankie Edgar. Yeah. Remember when Urijah fought Frankie Edgar? There was like a level difference. You could see the speed and everything difference. And I think that if he goes against somebody like Cejudo's just too strong, too powerful. We've seen Cejudo's striking is actually coming along too, his athleticism. Urijah won't have that favorable grappling experience that he normally has against Cejudo. I think it would be a lot. But I'd like to see Urijah get some fun matchups. Right. Like, he's at that stage where kind of like Showtime Pettis right now. Showtime Pettis knows that he's probably not going to be the next lightweight or welterweight champion, but he's open because of his name and his brand and his star power to taking these fun fights. I would like to see Urijah take more fun fights with fights that the fans like us want to see rather than – there's nothing wrong with chasing gold, but I don't think it's for him unless the fans want to see it. I will watch it, but I don't think it's the right fight next.
Yeah, on the one hand, I think I'd like to see him try a fight with somebody, in the top 5 or something to test that higher level of the division.
Where was Ricky at? I don't mean to cut you off.
That's a really good question, and I knew you were just about to ask me that, and I don't remember now.
I want to say he was like 10 or 12. I could be wrong. I want to say he was 10 or 12.
I'm sorry, I don't remember right now.
No worries.
But yeah, I want to see him kind of test the waters with somebody a little higher ranked first to see if he can hang. But at the same time, you could argue, just give him the title shot. He'll find out if he can hang then and there. Yeah. And if he doesn't, no great loss, because he just went for it, and most people might have thought he wasn't ready. I don't know. But I guess the part I don't like about that is, the skipping of the line is hard for when you look at guys like Aljo and, putting in a lot of consistency. It's like if these two things could happen independent of one hurting the other, you know what I mean? If Uriah's title shot didn't mean somebody like Aljo would get screwed, then cool. If they could all happen. And I don't know how long somebody like Germaine would wait or this or that. Obviously Urijah has name brand recognition. You can understand why, if it does happen, you can understand why it's happening. It's just tough because then, people will argue it's not a sport, it's entertainment, Like you said, we've seen stranger things happen, and we've known that this kind of thing can happen. I think I, too, would just prefer to see him in fun fights, and not necessarily trying to chase the title. But I understand his desire.
I'm all about the fun fights. If I was Urijah Faber right now, I would be on the phone texting Cejudo every day, like, "Look, let's keep this thing rolling, man. Keep with the back and forth banter. We have a history together. They released that photo the other day from like 10 years ago of Urijah promoting Henry or something after like a wrestling camp or something. Henry already called out Urijah. Urijah in turn called back out Henry. They could use this and lobby for it. They could really make it happen if they really wanted. And I think Cejudo kind of wants that fight because he feels like he could beat Urijah. He feels like this is a favorable fight for Cejudo, and Urijah would love the opportunity. Uriah's not scared of anyone. Urijah would love the opportunity. So if them two want to get together and make this happen, I think they really could do it. And as you said, the UFC is at its place right now where entertainment is as equal in power as the lineup, as matchmaking. So we'll see what happens. But all in all, to conclude on it, like, I think the overall census afterward was like, wow, like what a legend.
Right.
Everybody was super happy for Urijah.
Oh, yeah.
It was great. I'm glad I got to watch that one live and experience that.
Yeah, I'm glad I was in the building. I filmed it and it was amazing. Like it was amazing to be there and see him cutting, even just the walkout, California. And everybody just goes nuts. Like the place went absolutely insane. And then when he won, like it was definitely a special moment. Like it must have been really amazing to be him in that moment, come win like that among all your people. Like everybody in town knows who that man is. Like everybody's a Urijah fan in Sacramento. Like that had to feel incredible. So for that, totally psyched for him and whatever's next. I mean, it is cool that he's back, and if he does keep winning, like that's exciting, that's cool. So but the main event, I'm curious, this was the I guess record-setting main event and co-main event, the shortest in UFC history combined, only 1 minute and 2 seconds for both fights. I know a lot of people in the moment thought it was too early of a stoppage, and I kind of thought so too, but then the more I watched the tape, the more I was like, I don't think it was really going to get any better for Aspen Ladd. And in that moment, like she does kind of sit there for a second and just kind of glazed and looking at the canvas, and that second punch doesn't land 100%, but I thought Germaine was going to win that fight anyway. I had picked her to win anyway. I just felt like her striking was going to be so much better, and she's powerful and long arms. Could probably keep Aspen at bay. So I wasn't really surprised that she won by a knockout. I was surprised it was that fast. But the more I looked at it, the more I was like, I understand why people might give Herb some grief, but I actually was okay with it because I don't think it was going to get any better for Aspen, and she might have just been saved from a real mauling. Yeah,
I'm on the fence with it. I agree that with you in terms that it wasn't going to get any better. I think both fights with Ricky and Urijah and with Aspen as well, the inevitable was going to happen. It was just a matter of when. But watching it, I feel like if Herb would have let, and look, I'm not blaming Herb Dean because it was an in the moment thing. He's right there close. He's able to look at her eyes. He's able to tell things that we're not able to tell. And from Herb's point of view, he could see Aspen about to get ran up on. He's thinking, thankfully that punch didn't land. It landed on her shoulder. But if it had have landed flush and 2 or 3 follow-ups, That's the decision that Herb had to make in that split second. Is she about to get mauled right here, or am I going to save her? The one missed, and he was already jumping in to make a decision. But with that said, I would have liked it to just let her finish the job. Aspen would not have been mad, like, oh, shoot, she punched me 2 more times after I was stunned. Like, that's what I signed up for. It's a fight. And then it becomes zero question. But when you're kind of dazed, because she was rocked. You saw her. She was sitting there, and you can see the little Tweety birds going around her head. She was rocked. But it's like, I know I'm not trying to compare MMA to boxing, but if this was a boxing ring, boxers get rocked in the second round of a fight. They have a 10-second, 8-second count, and then they get their brain unscrambled, and then they fight again, and they come back and win. And so I know MMA is a different sport, and you could do like Urijah did. You could hurt somebody and then get on them, pop, 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 and apply the pressure and force a stoppage. But I feel like Aspen would have cleared her head and a couple more seconds, if they'd have let it go. But the inevitable, I do agree. In both fights, I think Urijah was coming out on top. I don't think Aspen was getting any better. But I like to see it sealed and done. I'm not for fighters taking excessive damage, obviously. But me being a person, a victim of this before, where I felt that it was stopped early. And I even saw a little bit of your post-fight show with Tyron. And Tyron was saying the same thing as you. But then after he stated his case, he even said, but if it was me, you better knock me out. Because you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And so that's where this is coming from. The fighter in me says, look, I want the fighter to be safe. And I know Aspen Ladd had a bad weight cut. And she was seeing Tweety birds. But look, if I have a 20% chance of crawling out of this hole, you better give me my allowed time, because that's how we are. We're fighters. So it's a tough one. Not mad at it, but I would have liked to see it finish for sure.
And I agree with that too, because I definitely wanted to see more of a fight, right? Like, selfishly, I'm like, well, that sucks. Like, I actually wanted to see these two throw down.
We were all
you know
like
what I mean?
that.
Like,
we were
and
all
even
like,
though, I thought Germaine was going to win. Like, I wanted to watch this fight because Aspen's tough as hell, and I don't know for sure she's, So it is hard, because I do understand the feeling of like getting this fight taken away with us, or more of a fight anyway. How much longer could it have gone on? I don't know. And Aspen is a tough girl. But you brought up the thing. It's that weight cut. And, like, the fact that, some people were like, look, I can't believe this woman even got cleared to fight. And I do wonder if, not even if that's just in Herb's head, but, like, if that's something the commission had a conversation about. We don't know if they were like, dude, if she's even 75% knocked out, you know what I mean? We gotta call it. Like, I don't know how commissions work. I don't know what, like, in terms of that, what kind of conversations they may or may not have had. But, I asked Aspen about it when she came on the pre-show, and she's like, yeah, no, it was a bad cut. And I said, but you've had some before, right? And she's like, yeah, I've had some before, and this one was a little worse, or, but I do think that may have had something to do with, stopping it a little maybe sooner than later.
It could have,
really know. But
it's a hard thing to go. You go back and forth. It was definitely not like a bad call. It was just, man, we're fighters and we want to fight to the death in our mind. So let us be unconscious rather than just kind of dazed. That's how I feel. But like you said, I tweeted out right away, man, some kind of questionable stoppages on this card with the two co-main and main. And a fan replied, or somebody replied saying, I think Herb Dean already had the weight cut in his head. So it was an interesting point that you're bringing up about that, because you could be right. The commission could have said to Herb or to some other people, we're going to clear this fight. If there's any questionable parts in this fight, I'd rather you take the side of safety, precaution, rather than letting it go. So that could have been something. And if that conversation never did happen, I don't think personally, it could be totally wrong, but I don't think that Herb Dean was thinking in the split-second moment, oh, she had a bad weight cut. Let me stop it. I think Herb was doing what he naturally would have done anyway.
Agreed.
That was his instincts, and so he went with his instincts. But if there was a conversation beforehand, it does make a lot of sense, because that was a nasty weight cut. To see somebody in pain trying to stand up, it's heart-wrenching. It's heart-wrenching to see her in that type of uncomfortable in her body so much. So that does play a big effect, and that could have been why she was in such a la-la land from that punch.
Yeah, that was hard to watch. I felt bad for her. But she'll be back. It's only her first professional loss. Aspen has a very bright future. So I don't think anybody's stressing about, if this girl can recover or not, and bounce back. It was a very good night for alpha male in general. I think the only one who didn't win was Darren Elkins. I know, I thought that was an entertaining Ryan Hall fight. Kenny Florian was out there with him. Ryan is funny. A lot of people just think he's a jiu-jitsu guy, but he's throwing spinning stuff. And, granted, he got on his bike and rolled around, jogged around a little bit, which I didn't always love, like jogging back into reset position. But I think that Ryan throws a lot more interesting things than just a jiu-jitsu guy, that people have kind of labeled him as.
I thought Ryan Hall, the best fight that we've seen from him, agreed. Yeah. And him looking better more than just a jiu-jitsu guy. But I got to say this, man, and I don't ever like to talk bad about fighters. Right. But Darren Elkins, I thought it was just not a smart fight, not a good fight from him at all. I thought the tendency to not engage on the ground. So what if this guy is a superb jiu-jitsu guy? Mm-hmm. You were giving him the opportunity to grab your ankles when you're trying to kick him.
Right.
A little bit, maybe go into the guard, something more than like when you step away and say stand back up, and then the guy's kicking you in the face over and over and over again, and you're not giving anything offensively on the ground, and then you're knocking him off balance because Ryan Hall, he has good kicks, but he's off balance quite a bit.
Right.
It makes him fall into his back. You have to go. Elkins comes from somewhat of a grappling background. He's a grappler. He has to feel like, man, let me just put Ryan against the cage, posture up, keep my ankles away, stay safe, and just kind of beat him up, hammer fists. Maybe I hurt him. Maybe the ref stands me up after 30 seconds. But there were opportunities that he could have won the round or seized the moment more rather than standing Ryan Hall back up. Mm-hmm. I wasn't happy with the way he thought about that. Then also the game plan on the feet. When somebody's kicking you, when they are outstriking you with kicks, you have to close the distance. So that means using your boxing. You have to rush in, use your boxing. He never uses boxing that great. He was just kind of letting Ryan Hall dictate what was happening. So I'm not sitting here trying to say, you did this wrong, this is what I would have done. Look, everything happens in a fight, and it's difficult to deal with. And Ryan Hall seems like somebody who's difficult to deal with because of his flexibility, his long legs, and his jiu-jitsu. But I feel like his cornermen or Darren should have been trying to change the game plan, adapt better in the fight. But we didn't see any adaptation at all. He stayed doing it, and it really cost him the fight, not capitalizing those opportunities when Ryan was on his back.
Yeah, I agree. It was tough for him, but Josh Emmett beat Mirsad Bektic.
Man, Emmett's a killer.
Yeah, the best performance Uriah's was amazing, but to me it was all about Touchy Fili. His performance was just bananas. And the fact that he, the story of his dad had just gotten out of prison after 17 years. Andre hadn't seen his dad in forever. His dad gets like a 3-day pass or something from his parole officer to come out, see him fight. Fili's like, look, my sister's there, my family's there. He's like, there was nobody going to beat me tonight. Like, nobody. I get like kind of goosebumps thinking about the fact that he hasn't seen his dad. That's incredible to me. I can't even fathom that. I just was, what a performance for him. This kid seems to really have turned a corner, and like he even says it, mentally, physically, like everything seems to be firing for him. I thought he looked awesome.
I agree, and a great story, like you said. I had no idea about his dad. We've worked with him before, obviously, on UFC Now. You've interviewed him a couple times at the shows. I didn't know the backstory. It makes sense now when we kind of see he enjoys this kind of like this outcast kind of stigma that's attached to him. And it makes sense now. He kind of feels like he's been that kid that never got any kind of respect or, was kind of, brought up the wrong way or whatever it may be. And you see that in him, but you also see the powerful fighter inside of him. And look, he beat one of my teammates that night. And I would have been a lot more upset if it had not have been for that it was Touchy that did it, that it was that Touchy,
I know,
that it was Fili that did it, and the story that came from it. He beat Shaman, Blackhouse, teammate of mine, a buddy, and he will be back. This does not hurt Mariah's credit. I know he's heartbroken from it, but it was really, like you said, the story was about Andre Fili that night. To put out a phenomenal striker like Shaman Mariah's, and then the story that come, the dancing at the end, all the Team Alpha Male guys having, I think 4 out of 6 of them had great nights. He looks phenomenal. And the other thing that's impressive, Karyn, is we've seen Touchy, Fili, out-wrestle great guys. When he had that close fight that we weren't sure if he won or not against, who was it? Bermudez. Bermudez is a phenomenal, powerful, well-built wrestler.
Yep.
And to see Andre Fili be able to out-wrestle him, and to see him be able to knock out high-level guys, and he's made that adjustment where Team Alpha Male is now training at CSA. It just shows he's an evolving fighter and really, really someone to continue what you're keeping your eye on in the future, because he's making great leaps and bounds in his career.
Yeah, he absolutely is. Otherwise, on Saturday, I was impressed with Brianna Van Buren, the new girl who came in and beat Lavinia Souza. Both of them are former Invicta champions. And, you never know what you're going to get when you get somebody debuting. And it was supposed to be a fight with Cynthia Calvillo, which would have been really entertaining. So that got swapped out. But my goodness, that turned out to be a great fight. And I was like, Brianna, I was thinking, about your teammate there, Danielle Taylor, that same kind of build and everything. And it was just I feel like Brianna was doing a lot of the things that Danielle could do. Like we were just talking, sometimes in the gym, you say Danielle was more aggressive like that. And sometimes in a fight didn't go for it as much. And it was kind of interesting to watch Brianna, who's got that same build. You're like, oh, this is how you do it when you're the smaller fighter and stuff like that. I thought she was great. So I'm really looking forward to seeing her.
Yeah, I did see parts of that fight, and I was impressed by her as well. She for a debuter, she looked very good.
Very cool, very cool. Well, so I had a good time in Sacramento. This weekend I'm going down to San Antonio, to Texas. There is a welterweight marquee event in your division there, Alan. RDA, Rafael dos Anjos versus Leon Edwards. What are you thinking on this one? Who do you like?
Man, I have to say, RDA is a guy that, for me, even though he's in my division, but he's a likable guy. He's a good guy. He's a family man. He takes on any challenger. He is very well-rounded everywhere. I like him, and I think I've been picking him in a lot of fights. He's had some tough losses, but he's also had some very good fights where he's shown what caliber fighter he is. But, man, his opponent, who all of a sudden I'm blanking on
Leon
his name.
Edwards.
Leon Edwards, thank you very much. Leon Edwards is looking very super impressive. I mean, the way that he was able to kind of outstrike and do what he wanted with Cowboy in that 5-round fight or 3 to 5 round affair, whatever it was, and then to go there and engage in a grappling against Gunnar Nelson. It shows the confidence and the skill set that he has in the grappling department as well. Tough fight. Two of the most well-rounded guys in the division, to be honest. When it comes to equal striking and grappling strengths, both guys I think are pretty even par on that one. I think that Leon Edwards is just kind of the bigger. He's about 6'1", 6'2", taller, bigger, longer guy, probably more youthful guy as well. Has a little bit of less wear and tear and age on him, and so it makes me favor Leon in this fight. But nonetheless, even matchup, good matchup. I just think the lengthy, youthful size of Leon will prevail in this fight. Get you thinking right there, huh? See,
I'm torn on this one, Alan, with Leon Edwards being born in Jamaica. So there's the part of me that's like, you got to root for the Jamaican guy. But I am a big supporter of Rafael dos Anjos, and I think that the kind of people that give him trouble are the wrestlers. And, he just beat Kevin Lee even. But, the Cody thing, again, Cody's a very, very good wrestler. We know that H.E.A.T had the ear thing going on, too, which kind of took him out of the fight a little bit. But regardless, we've seen him have a tougher time with wrestlers. And Leon isn't really a wrestler. You know what I mean? Like you said, he wasn't afraid to grapple with Gunnar. And if you can survive Gunnar, that's a big deal. But I don't know. I feel like with Rafael that the former champion in him, the guy has seen everything. He's been through everything. I feel like he's going to be stronger and more powerful than Leon. I feel like Rafael's punches may do more damage than Leon's. I feel like Leon might have to put more volume together, whereas Rafael might have more success with his power. I don't know. I think I might be taking Dos Anjos in this one.
So you're saying you're putting your vacation package tickets to Mexico on the line for RDA? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if that's what I said. But
you're saying you might be going with.
I might be going, but I agree with you. That's the thing, is they are both very well rounded. I think they are. I don't know.
Hey, yeah. It really is. It's a good matchup. It's a really good, intriguing matchup. With some of the other fights that we've seen with these guys get in, it's like, well, this guy's such a good wrestler, and they're probably going to hold RDA down.
Right.
With Leon Edwards and Gunnar, we thought the same thing, that maybe Gunnar was going to be too much of the grappling, but we saw different sides of Leon. So, but when you put these two guys together, like I said, they both seem so good in every area. Yeah. It's going to be kind of a test of which skill set they're going to test first. But I really wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if Leon Edwards took a page out of some of RDA's past opponents' books and said, you know what? RDA has trouble with the wrestlers. I'm going to put him on the cage. I'm going to make him carry my weight, and then I'm going to box him up in the middle when he gets away. Right. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him try to use that tactic, but easier said than done against RDA.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, that's, I think, what I like about this fight is we don't really know where it's going to play out. Where, like you said, sometimes you know what kind of opponent he's got. You know exactly. He's going to try to drag him down and lay out, you know. Mm-hmm. So you really don't know where this goes. I will say, though, like I said, even just with the way they're built, if Rafael is the possibility of top control and pressure, I feel like he's going to feel heavier on Leon than Leon's going to feel on him.
Yeah, I agree. The one thing that did impress me, I keep going back to this, but when Gunnar Nelson got on top of Leon, Leon was able to kind of hip bump and shrimp out, and I was like, wow, he can get Gunnar off of him, because I've had Gunnar on me, and it felt like a sack of cement. So I was impressed with that. But I do agree that, like, stylistically, RDA a little bit more of a power puncher. He throws everything with bad intentions. Leon is a little bit more of a technical striker, where he throws it out there, wants to stay at the end of his range and pick you apart until he breaks you.
Yeah, well, anyway, I'm going to have to find Leon down in San Antonio and see if he's holding any good Jamaican food while we're there.
There you go.
Swing by the room and be like, yeah, man, yeah, patty, or... Anyway, I'll go. Anyway, I'm excited for that fight. I have never been to San Antonio. I hear it's cool. I don't... You know, if I'm being honest, Texas is not... I don't know.
Come on. Everything's bigger.
Interesting.
Steakhouse.
I've been several times. I hope it's not like incredibly hot and humid like it probably is going to be. But everybody says San Antonio is cool. So we'll see. We'll see.
San Antonio is cool from what I recall, and it's kind of. I think it's kind of. No, I don't want to compare it to Austin, but who knows? Texas vibes, man. You know how it is. You go to the steakhouses, you get some ribs, you listen to some country music. All my stuff, all the stuff we love, right, Karyn?
Oh, yeah, country music and beef ribs.
Maybe just me.
My favorite things. But I am there, that card is actually going to be fun too. Like Walt Harris is on there against Alexei Oleinik. Yeah. We have Juan Adams is fighting Greg Hardy. We have Andre Arlovsky versus Ben Rothwell. There's definitely going to be some heavyweights on display.
Some fun matchups.
So we see some slanging and banging and stuff. So that I think will be fun. There's going to be some definitely some entertaining fights on the card. So
who are you working with?
I think it's just me and T-Wood again. There might be one other with us, but I think it's me and T-Wood. So because it's a welterweight fight, makes sense to have the former champ there and stuff, and he knows guys well. So so it'll be a good time. Also tomorrow, Wade and I will be going to film. There's a big Bellator lunch. So my buddy Gegard's going to be in town. We might see him tonight or tomorrow. Also, my boy Shek Congo is going to be there. Ryan Bader, the champ will be there. Pitbull, a bunch of stuff. So a bunch of guys will be there. Juan Archuleta and stuff. So we'll be covering that Bellator lunch tomorrow, and we'll have a bunch of stuff up from there. But also, if people are still looking for it, Saturday while I was up in the booth and all that stuff, Wade was getting backstage interviews at Sacramento. So he's got Urijah, he's got Germaine, he's got Aspen, he's got H.E.A.T, he's got Fili, he's got a bunch of people. So those are all on our MMA Heat Facebook page and also on MMA Heat's YouTube channel. I know he was going to start populating the website with him too, but we just kind of took a couple days off. Right now they're just on YouTube and everything. But yeah, he got a lot of good stuff. If people still want to look into that. So that's it.
Cool.
If you want to follow me, KB Heat on Instagram, Karyn Bryant everywhere else, it's Karyn. And then we also have MMA Heat across the board. Alan, where can they find you?
Yep, same thing with me, guys, at Alan Jouban across the board, all social media. Give me a follow.
Cool. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in. And these are also available as an audio download at MMA.audio. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.
Take care, guys.